like to know what kind of weapon could destroy the Borg.
While the Star Trek franchise has introduced many deadly species over time, Species 8472 were undoubtedly one of the most dangerous species in the Star Trek universe. They were extra-dimensional apex predators who even posed a threat to the deadly Borgs and almost even wiped them out. Species 8472 were also known for their intelligence and aggression, and they unleashed chaos when the Borgs provoked them and tried to invade their space. These creatures briefly appeared in the Star Trek Voyager series, and today we'll explore their powers and tell you all about their role in the Star Trek universe. Before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin. What was the role of Species 8472 in the Star Trek Voyager TV series? Species 8472 played a crucial role in the Star Trek Voyager television series, and they first appeared in the third season's finale episode, titled Scorpion Part 1. As the episode begins, the Voyager passes through the Borg territory when Captain Janeway warns the crew to be ready to face the Borgs. The Doctor also starts preparing antibodies that might help them face the Borgs, but they soon notice that there are several Borg corpses lying all around their territory. They also spot around 15 Borg cubes, leaving the territory at a fast pace, and Captain Janeway is surprised to see that the Borgs don't bother them at all. They soon run a scan and learn that these cubes have been destroyed, and Janeway runs an investigation and spots a huge bioship attached to a portion of a Borg hull. We later learn that this bioship belongs to Species 8472, and that they're already halfway through their attack on the Borg territory. Kes also has his visions of alien species and Borg corpses, and these visions soon turn to reality as they spot Species 8472. One of these creatures even attacks Ensign Harry Kim with its alien infection, while the bioship detaches from the Borg's hull and tries to go after the Voyager. They somehow manage to escape, and the Doctor even uses modified Borg nanoprobes to heal Kim's infection. They travel through the Northwest Passage when Janeway comes up with a plan to team up with the Borgs to defeat Species 8472. The Doctor had also created a treatment that could kill the Species 8472, and Janeway intends to use this as a bargaining chip in order to get permission to travel through Borg territory safely. The Voyager soon travels to another Borg-occupied planet and establishes contact with a Borg cube. The Borg listens to her proposed plan, but they are interrupted by another attack by Species 8472. As this episode comes to an end, Species 8472 successfully destroys this Borg planet, while the Voyager and the Borg cube somehow manage to escape. The fourth season of the show continues with this storyline in its first episode titled Scorpion Part 2, where the Borg readily accepts Captain Janeway's proposal. They team up to destroy Species 8472, and Janeway even asks the Borgs to choose a representative in order to communicate with them. While Janeway starts discussions with the Borg's representative, 7 of 9, Species 8472's bioship once again shows up and launches an attack on them. Janeway ends up getting critically injured in this attack, but they somehow manage to escape by ramming the bioship with the Borg cube and destroying them both. While Janeway undergoes urgent surgery, she asks Chakotay to maintain her alliance with the Borgs. Meanwhile, 7 of 9 gathers information on Species 8472 and learns that they have killed millions of Borgs so far. 7 of 9 asks Chakotay to use the Voyager to help the Borgs, but he refuses to do so since that would cause them to travel off-route. However, 7 of 9 creates a subspace rift that draws the Voyager into it, and they end up traveling to fluidic space, which is also the origin place of Species 8472. The Borgs had discovered them when they had invaded the fluidic space by creating a rift in space, and they had even tried to get their hands on their biotechnology when Species 8472 finally decided to retaliate and attack them. 7 of 9 even declares that since Chakotay refused to help, the Voyager must now fight Species 8472 without any assistance. However, Captain Janeway soon recovers from her surgery and once again takes control of the Voyager. She then assists in creating weapons to defeat Species 8472's bioships, and they are successfully able to destroy the attacking ships. 7 of 9 then reverses the process that sucked the Voyager into fluidic space. but they soon find themselves in the middle of a bioship fleet. They once again modify the Voyager to create a large-scale weapon that wipes out the bioships. After dealing with species 8472, 7 of 9 tries to fight against the Voyager's crew, but Chakotay distracts her while Torres breaks her connection to the Borgs collective. As the episode ends, the Voyager continues its journey to the Alpha Quadrant after having dealt with species 8472. 7 of 9 continues to stay on board the Voyager, and she also gets assigned some duties within the ship's lab. Species 8472 later appears in the season's 16th episode titled Prey, where the Voyager comes across an injured Hirogen who is trying to locate a dangerous prey that turns out to be species 8472. The Voyager's crew brings him on board and takes him to the sickbay for treatment, while one of the members of species 8472 invades the starship. The Hirogen hunter starts chasing after its prey with some assistance from Chakotay, and he attacks the creature even if it's unresponsive. Chakotay then asks the hunter to stand down and even takes him back to the sickbay, while the Voyager's crew approaches the injured species 8472 member. The creature uses telepathy to communicate with Tuvok and asks him to take it back to its home dimension in fluidic space. However, the Hirogen are firmly against this, and an entire crew of Hirogen hunters soon surrounds the Voyager in protest. Captain Janeway still stands her ground and asks 7 of 9 to take the alien creature back to its home, but she refuses to do so. 7 of 9 believes that they must not risk getting attacked by the Hirogen hunters, just in order to save one creature, and she even warns Janeway that the Hirogen ships might completely destroy the Voyager if she doesn't hand the creature over. As things get tense, 7 of 9 decides to beam the Hirogen hunter into the sickbay, as well as the captured species 8472, to one of the Hirogen ships in order to avoid further conflict. This gets her in trouble with Captain Janeway, who punishes her by restricting her movement around the Voyager. Nevertheless, 7 of 9 stands her ground and insists that she only did what was necessary to save the Voyager. Species 8472 doesn't make any new appearances until the 5th season, where they appear in an episode titled In the Flesh. When the Voyager comes across a space station that seems to be a recreation of Starfleet Academy on Earth, Chakotay and Tuvok decide to explore it. As they explore the space station, Chakotay manages to get a date with Commander Valerie Archer, and he later explores a restricted area with Tuvok. However, they are cornered by a cadet, and they decide to stun him and take him back to the Voyager with them. When they return to the Voyager, the cadet commits suicide in order to avoid interrogation, and the doctor then runs a DNA test and learns that the so-called cadet was actually a member of species 8472. They soon realize that species 8472 has the ability to assume a humanoid appearance, and Captain Janeway immediately starts preparing for another face-off with them. She even sends Chakotay back to the space station simulation in order to learn more about their situation. Chakotay meets with Commander Valerie, who also turns out to be a member of species 8472 in disguise. Valerie sneakily gets her hands on Chakotay's DNA sample and tests it to see if he's human. Valerie then contacts Boothby, one of the superior members of species 8472, who then captures Chakotay and interrogates him. Boothby assumes that the Starfleet might be trying to launch an attack on species 8472, while Captain Janeway arrives at the space station in the Voyager. While the situation is tense, both parties agree to negotiate and try to come up with a decision peacefully. The Voyager crew learns that the space station is one of the many training grounds of species 8472, and the foreign species have a hard time believing that the Starfleet is not trying to attack them. In order to prove that they come in peace, Captain Janeway assures them that the rest of the Starfleet is not even aware of their existence, and she even asks the Voyager's crew to stand down. They finally arrive at a truce and exchange information regarding the Borg nanoprobes created by the Doctor, as well as the advanced genetic modification techniques of species 8472. While species 8472 is portrayed as an aggressive species, they come to a mutual understanding, and the Voyager eventually returns safely without suffering any harm. Nature and personality of species 8472. While species 8472 agrees to settle things with Captain Janeway and the Voyager's crew, they are typically quite an aggressive species. They are also the only species to exist in fluidic space, and they often look down on other life forms. They even consider other species to be weak, and they eventually hope to get rid of all life forms in the Milky Way galaxy so that their presence won't contaminate their realm. While species 8472 has a set mentality, their thoughts eventually evolve after they assume a humanoid form, and some of them even develop an interest in Federation art and literature. Exploring the unique physiological features of this lethal species. Species 8472 are around 3 meters in height, and they are tripedal creatures that have 3 legs. They have eyes and cruciform pupils, but don't have other facial features such as mouths, nostrils, or ears. They can exist in fluidic space without any gravity, and they also don't require any oxygen to survive. They have a total of 5 sexes, and their bodily cells have about 100 times as many DNA molecules as humans. Their DNA consists of a triple helix structure, and it's quite densely coated. These creatures are considered to be the apex of biological evolution, and their biology and organic technology even make them superior to the Borgs. They also have a powerful immune system that protects them against chemical, biological, and even technological damage. But they can be destroyed with the help of the modified Borg nanoprobe created by the Doctor. With respect to technological attacks, Species 8472's bodies generate an electrical field that can block any sensor and also penetrate through force fields to move past obstacles. These species are designed by Steve Borg, who later hands his drawings to John Teska. Teska plays a huge role in building the actual models of Species 8472 by referring to the initial drawings and then adding some finer details and textures. The insane rivalry between Borgs and Species 8472. When Species 8472 was first introduced in Star Trek Voyager, they seemed to be a threatening species that had targeted the Borgs. We soon learned that the Borgs and Species 8472 have viewed each other as rivals ever since their first encounter. And it also seems like the Borgs tried to assimilate Species 8472 into their collective. The Borgs operated under a hive mind known as the Collective, and they even shared a collective consciousness. They also tried to recruit other species to become a part of their hive mind through the process of assimilation, in which they used Borg nanoprobes to turn other creatures into Borgs. However, the Borgs learned that Species 8472 were immune to their assimilation procedure and technologically superior to them. When Species 8472 retaliated by attacking Borg territory, the Borgs joined hands with Captain Janeway and the Voyager's crew to get rid of them. They also combined the Borg nanoprobes as well as the Voyager's resources to create a lethal weapon that would work against Species 8472. Their endeavors were successful, and they finally created a nanoprobe-based weapon that could injure as well as kill Species 8472. What makes Species 8472 so deadly and powerful? Species 8472 has several powers that make them stand out among other deadly forces, and they even have the ability to mentally link themselves with their bioships. They are known for using advanced organic technology, and they have even created bioships out of the same material as their bodies. Both these creatures and their bioships are resistant to most external attacks, and these bioships can destroy an entire Borg cube with a single shot. In other cases, 8 of their bioships can work together to destroy something as massive as an entire planet. They can also perform advanced genetic engineering techniques that enable them to take the appearance of other life forms. They are so skilled at mimicking other life forms that their real identity can't be detected unless someone uses a microcellular scan. They maintain these appearances by using isomorphic injections, and their genetic engineering is so advanced that they attain all the key characteristics of their targeted life forms. For instance, a member of Species 8472 would have to breathe, sleep, and consume food in a human form, even if it did not need any of these in its usual form. Species 8472 also has an advanced immune system that helps them regenerate any limbs or heal from any attack. They are also immune to most forms of known diseases and viruses, and they can defend themselves against the Borg's assimilation procedure. Their bodies naturally produce a cellular toxin through their claws, and this toxin is lethal to most life forms. It will essentially disintegrate any being at cellular level, and members of the species can also release this toxin into their bloodstream if they ever wish to commit suicide in a dangerous situation. Species 8472 has the ability to communicate with the help of telepathy, and they can establish mental contact and probe the minds of other species. They are also immensely powerful entities and have a tough exoskeleton that gives them strength and also protects them. They are considered to be larger and more robust than most humanoid species in the Star Trek universe, and their power is truly unmatched. Species 8472 also appeared in Star Trek Voyager, the arcade game. They've also appeared as villains in Star Trek Voyager, the arcade game, and were the main races that appeared in Star Trek Voyager Elite Force. In this game, the players had to sneak into the Borg cube to find isodesium, and they typically came across species 8472 inside the cube. They also appeared in Star Trek Armada 2, where their bioships were introduced as biological beings that were created from active embryos. These creatures also appeared in the short story Places of Exile, which was a part of the Myriad universes. In this alternate reality, Species 8472 had launched an attack on the Voyager, and the Federation starship had to stay within the Delta Quadrant and think of a solution. Eventually, Captain Janeway and the ship's crew allied with other species that lived in the Delta Quadrant and labeled themselves as the Delta Coalition. In this timeline, these species were also known as the Groundskeepers, and the Voyager's crew faced them along with their allies. Species 8472 later appeared in the Star Trek Online game, where they introduced themselves as Undyne in front of the Klingons. The tie-in novel titled The Needs of the Many stated that this word could roughly be translated as groundskeepers in their language. The Undyne, or Species 8472, were major villains in this game as well, and they even attacked the Federation and the Klingon Defense Force over the course of the game. When the Klingon Defense Force realized that the Undyne had infiltrated them, they approached the Federation to warn them about it, but their warnings fell on deaf ears. This incident finally gave way to the fight between the Empire and the Federation in the game. We also learned that the Yoconians had infiltrated the Undyne's fluidic space, and even led them to believe that the Alpha and Beta quadrants were uniting to invade the Undynes. This caused a lot of chaos, and the Undynes performed various actions, such as infiltrating several galactic powers and even attacking the Voth while they fought against allied forces such as the Starfleet, KDF, and the Romulan Republic. Things finally escalated when the Undynes led an assault on Space Dock 1 and even tried to deploy dangerous planet-killer weapons in places such as Ferenginar, Gornus, Kronos, and Andoria. However, they faced resistance from the Allied forces and were eventually forced to return to the Delta Quadrant. Admiral Tuvok finally showed up and played a crucial role in establishing a truce between the Undynes and the Allied forces at the end of this plotline. The game also had several other storylines, and one such in-game mission revealed that the Borg had finally figured out a way to assimilate the Undynes. To sum it up, Species 8472 is a remarkably powerful species that dominates fluidic space and even earns the reputation for being the apex of biological evolution. These creatures hold so much power that they can even resist the Borg's assimilation procedure, and the Borgs eventually have to join forces with the Voyager's crew in order to defend themselves. Species 8472 play a short yet crucial role in the Star Trek universe, and they are so lethal that they manage to turn the dangerous Borgs into prey. And if you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one and be safe. Thanks everyone!